Hey guys, it's Psychosis here, and as you can see in the title, I'm doing another book review, and today I'm reviewing the sci-fi novel Solaris by Stanislaw Lem. And I only know about this book because one of the fantasy writing YouTube channels I follow, who gives writing advice for writing fantasy, they recommended this book in a community post, and then it caught my attention, and then a whole bunch of other sci-fi YouTubers raved about this book and said it was amazing. So I wanted to read it, and today I reviewed it because I just finished this last night and say my thoughts on it. And yeah. So anyways, as you can see, it's a very short book. This book is only like 214 pages long. But despite its short length, this book has a lot of depth to it. And I thought this book was absolutely amazing. And so yeah. And as you can see, this artwork isn't really the best, but I don't really care about that. Because it doesn't really matter. Because it's just the outside of the book. But, yeah. And so, anyways, to get into this is actually a translation, I guess. Yeah. This whole book is a translation because the author, Stanislaw Lem, is Polish, and he wrote this entire book in Polish, so they translated it. And yeah, and the premise of this book is it's about a psychologist named Kelvin in the future. He goes to this space station on this planet known as Solaris, hence the name Solaris of the book. And this planet is like super unique because it has two moons, a red and a blue moon. And the cycles are whichever sun comes up is the day or night. It's really cool. But the real cool, unique thing about the Solaris, though, is it only has one living thing. And that is the ocean that covers it. The whole planet, nearly the entire planet, is covered in this living ocean, literal living ocean. It's really cool, and it's a really unique concept. I've never read something that has that. So, very cool premise. So he comes onto the space station from this ship called the Prometheus, and right away he first meets one of the only few characters of the book, Snow, and he's just like super distant and indifferent to him, and he thinks it's weird but he doesn't think much of it and stuff. And then as time goes along, things get weirder, and then they get super weird once his dead wife, Kelvin's dead wife, appears. Ray, she just appears in the flesh in front of him one day and is there like nearly the whole rest of the book. Yeah, it's a very simple, and so then it's them trying to figure out what the hell is going on and stuff, and then they find out and who these visitors are, as they call them. They call them visitors because each of the other characters also have a person, but the book doesn't explicitly describe them, but it hints that they also have people that come to see them. And yeah, it sounds like a very boring premise because it's a lot of just him talking to Ray and stuff, but this book is just amazing. I can't really give it justice without describing this book without spoiling it. I don't want to spoil it because it's just a very good book. And like I said, it's 214 pages. And yeah, there's a lot of depth in this book. And this book was actually a pretty difficult read, especially compared to what I've been reading. Like there's a lot of concepts of like philosophy and science, a lot of hard SF, as they call it, hard sci-fi. Like there's a couple chapters where he's just like reading a book in the book and like talking about these complex scientific things. The only reason I had any sort of idea is because I've seen those things mentioned in a couple of my college classes. But yeah, it was just a lot to read. And so it took me a long time to read this book. And yeah, this book is a lot harder to read than the book I'm currently reading. Yeah, this book is a lot easier to read. This book is good. I'll review this once I actually finish it. But yeah, this book is just way difficult. And despite being only 214 pages, there's more depth in this book than some books have in like thousands of pages. It's just incredible. And yeah, but it can be deteriorating, but yeah, one of its deterrents and also challenges is, like I said, it's a hard book to read. And it's a very slow paced book. This is not like a high octane action book. This is a slow burner, despite its page length. It's very slow read. But I only read this at night before bed. It took me like several nights to just sitting down and actually reading it to finish it. But excellent book. Yeah, excellent book. This is the first book I've ever read by this author. I might actually read more because, like I said, this book is just incredible to me. And yeah, like I said, it's a slow burn and it's really hard because there's a lot of concepts like philosophy. And the main thing of this book, the main question it asks the reader is what is reality and what isn't reality. And yeah, it gets wild, especially towards the end. I thought the ending of this book was like fantastic because there's just a lot going on and stuff. But I don't want to spoil it, but just in my opinion, I thought the ending of this book was like nearly perfect. And yeah. But this book gets super philosophical. There is a part where there is a conversation towards the end that about religion that I didn't necessarily agree with, but it was like really interesting of them talking about, or the Kelvin talking to Snow what he thought that the ocean was, like his final thoughts on the ocean. And it's, but yeah, it's just a really good book. I'm trying hard not to spoil it, because the only way to properly describe this book is to just spoil the whole thing. But it's not worth it. But yeah, there's like not a lot of characters either. There's only like 3 4 main characters. There's Kelvin, the main character, and it's narrated through his point of view. He narrates everything. And the writing in this book is excellent. I was caught up in this book. And as soon as I started reading this book, within like 30 pages, I was like, this is up there as one of the greatest books I ever read. Which is incredible because, like I said, it's a translation. So there could be mistakes, but I didn't really notice much aside from a few minor typos, like 1 or 2 minor typos in like the middle of the book. But yeah, there's only 4 main characters. There's Kelvin, the psychologist, the main character. He narrates it. Then there's Snow. You see him the most. It's him and Snow mostly are like the 2 main characters. And then there's a scientist guy. He just spends all his time in the lab named Sartorius. And he's just like not a very happy connecting person. He keeps really to himself and is only really caring about trying to solve the issue they have with the visitors. And yeah. And then there's also Gabarian, who is one of Kelvin's colleagues who got him into the whole study of this planet Solaris, the Solaris as they're called, all of that. His name's Gabarian, and he dies, and it's actually his death that causes Kelvin to come to the station. So he's like dead the whole book, but he left behind a lot of like audio tapes and stuff, which connects back to like everything they do in the rest of the book. And then of course his wife Ray appears and stuff, and yeah. Not a lot of characters. It's a slow burner, like I said, but this book's amazing. I wish I could just describe it more, but I really can. All I can really say is fantastic book. It's a slow but difficult read, but if you're willing to put in the time and the effort to read it, I highly would. Especially if you like sci-fi or you just want a difficult book that makes you think or whatever. Because this book is great. And the ending, like I said, is nearly perfect. I thought the ending was amazing. I was like, wow. I sat there for a minute. Like, that was just great. And yeah. And I haven't read much sci-fi, but I can definitely say with a certainty of, without a doubt that this is one of the greatest sci-fi books of the few I've read ever. Like, it is just an amazing book. but it's difficult to read. Yeah, and it's really big brain at times. Like I said, there's a lot of concepts like philosophy and hard science stuff, like actual science in this book. And yeah, there's even a chapter called The Little Apocrypha, because he finds a book called The Little Apocrypha, and it helps him figure things out. But yeah, that's basically the rundown of this book. I just want to just talk about this book. I could talk about this book for like an hour or two at least, of just how great this thing is. And as you can see, it is very tiny, and this book has more depth. It even has, yeah, it's even more difficult to read than this, or a lot of other books I've read. And it has way more depth than a lot of other books too. It is a very mighty book. But yeah, I would give this a 9.5 out of 10 at the very least, because this is like a masterpiece. I hate everyone throws that word around a lot, but this deserves that title. I don't think there's ever gonna be much other books that are gonna be like this for me, because I don't read as much sci-fi as I do fantasy, but fantasy and sci-fi are different. But like, this book is like, wow. Like, me just talking about this book makes me want to read it all over again. But I know if I reread it again, it's not going to have the same novelty, and it's going to be another difficult read through again. But yeah, fantastic book, 9.5 out of 10. If you can find this, I would highly recommend it. But yeah. Yeah, as you can see, my book copy is just kind of a basic, it's a lot of orange basic design, but despite this like really bland cover, this book is really good. But yeah, it's just really good. And it probably sounds like it's boring because a lot of it is just philosophical and him dealing with his wife, Ray, but you just have to read it for yourself if you really want to. Because I don't want to spoil it. I thought it because this book is just excellent. Like, masterpiece in writing. Like, even the writing quality, his like writing style, his prose is just excellent. And even the parts when in the there he even gets a little flowery for just for the context of the story, because there are a few sections with like dialogue where it gets like that. It's like perfectly placed. It's just so good. And yeah, that's gonna be my review for Solaris by Stanislaw Lem, guys. 9.5 out of 10. I keep repeating myself that this book is an absolute masterpiece. Of all the books I've read recently, this is probably the best one. And I think the only other book that I loved just as much as this that I've reviewed so far is probably the Swords trilogy and the Chronicles of Corum. And those are fantasy, more SFF kind of stuff. This is just a straight up hard sci-fi novel, and this book was just so good. Even if I didn't 100% agree with all the things and concepts in it, I was just like, wow, peak book. But yeah, that's gonna be my review, guys, for Solaris by Stanislaw Lem. I hope you all enjoyed my review. If there's any other books you'd like me to review, I'll read them and review them, or reread them if I haven't read them before. I'm not the fastest reader, but I try. I'm trying to branch my horizons of books I read. Try to find stuff, find my own tastes and stuff. It's been a lot of fun so far, but yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.